Hello class. We will begin this week by discussing tort law. You will learn that a tort is a harm to person or property. It is a civil wrong. The party who is harmed seeks compensation for the direct loss, which is referred to as special damages, and at times are general damages which are indirect. When the tortfeasor, who is the defendant, is a particularly bad actor, there are sometimes assessed punitive damages, which are damages to punish. There has been much discussion about tort reform. Tort reform is a movement to change the current tort law system to reduce the number of costly and unnecessary lawsuits. Lawsuits and unreasonable jury awards overly burden businesses, and often those businesses just pass these costs on to customers in terms of price increases. Further, lawsuits burden professionals such as physicians who are subject to malpractice lawsuits. Fear of litigation often results in defensive medicine, wherein a physician orders tests and procedures only out of fear that he will be sued if he does not order these tests. Methods of tort reform include statutory limits on the amount of damages that can be awarded, capping attorneys' contingency fees, and the English rule, which is the loser pays the court costs and attorneys' fees of a lawsuit. There are two types of torts: intentional torts and negligence. Intentional torts, as the name suggests, are legal wrongs that are committed on purpose as opposed to by accident or through carelessness. An intentional tort occurs when the defendant acts with the intent to cause actual harm or offense to another person, or at least the threat of harm or offense. Intentional torts include assault, which is a threat of immediate bodily harm, battery, an unlawful touching, false imprisonment. This is the legal confinement of another without consent or privilege. This can range from kidnapping to threatening someone if they move, to a security guard detaining a suspected shoplifter. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, which is conduct so outrageous that it causes emotional distress to the other person. There is a case, or was a case, in Louisiana in which a man was in a coma in a hospital bed. His wife visited him once per week. On one visit to the hospital, she found rats crawling all over him and rat bites covered his body. She successfully sued the hospital for intentional infliction of emotional distress. This case was unique because the direct harm was caused to her husband. Other types of intentional torts include defamation. This involves wrongfully hurting the reputation of another. The statement must be false. Truth is a defense. The statement must also be published. That is, a third party must have heard it. For example, if Mary tells Joey, "I know you killed your wife," that is not defamation because no one else heard it. There are instances where there may be a privilege. A privilege is a legal immunity. Attorneys in the courtroom have a privilege against defamation. Similarly, congressmen in chambers have a privilege against defamation. In either case, to defame a public figure, the public figure must prove that the tortfeasor acted with actual malicious or reckless disregard for the truth. Thus, the National Enquirer, before publishing a story, always gets two sources. They cannot be accused of recklessly disregarding the truth. Invasion of privacy is another intentional tort. This involves taking someone's identity, intrusion into someone's affairs, showing someone in false light, and disclosing private facts. Then there is appropriation. Appropriation occurs when a defendant uses a plaintiff's name, likeness, or image without his or her permission for commercial purposes. When a defendant uses a plaintiff's name or likeness for a newsworthy purpose, however, this does not fall under the tort of appropriation and can be used as a defense by defendants. Another intentional tort is wrongful interference with a contractual relationship. This applies when a third party induces one of the parties to breach. The third party knows a contract exists. For example, when someone intentionally tries to run someone out of business, that is considered wrongful interference with a business relationship. Trespass is another form of intentional torts. Trespass to land is wrongfully entering on the land of another. Landowners have a reasonable duty of care to people on their premises. To guests, they have a high duty. To trespassers, the duty is minimal. To children, who may be attracted onto the land by a swimming pool, the landowner has a duty of care. Trespass to personal property is wrongfully interfering with someone's use of their personal property. Conversion is stealing. Conversion is an unlawful act whereby a person without authority does any act which interferes with the good title in the goods of the owner. The basic elements of the tort of conversion of goods are: the defendant's conduct was inconsistent with the rights of the owner or other persons entitled to possession of the goods. The conduct was deliberate rather than an accident, and the conduct exclude the owner from use of possession of the goods. Disparagement is similar to defamation. It is a false claim about another's property that hurts its value. There are certain defenses to intentional torts. The most common defense to intentional torts are self-defense, defenses of a third person, and consent. Reasonable force can be used. Deadly force can be used only to defend self or another person. For example, if you look out of your house and see someone breaking into your car and decide to shoot that person, you would be arrested and prosecuted for criminal battery. You cannot use deadly force to protect property. Can an intentional tort result in criminal prosecution? Maybe. Many intentional torts can result in criminal charges. For example, if an assault and/or battery incident results in injuries to the plaintiff, then the victim might file a personal injury lawsuit against the perpetrator, seeking money damages, and the local prosecutor might file criminal charges against the attacker as well. On the state criminal statutes that define assault and battery as a misdemeanor crime. Similarly, in some states, false imprisonment is considered both criminal and a civil wrong, or the same incident might give rise to a personal injury lawsuit for false imprisonment and a criminal charge of kidnapping. This is the end of our discussion on intentional torts. We will discuss the tort of negligence in our next presentation.